Hello viewers, welcome to Elim TV. This is where you watch and learn. I'm your tutor, Miss Mukungi. I'm taking you through history and government. This is our 26th lesson, and our today topic is the early agriculture, and subtopic is the early agriculture in Egypt and Mesopotamia. And our lesson's objective is, by the end of the lesson, you should be able to state factors that favored early agriculture in Egypt and also methods of agriculture used in Egypt. When you're talking about early agriculture in Egypt, you will find that a number of factors favored the development of agriculture. Egypt was one of the countries of the world where early agriculture took place. This was due to the presence of indigenous crops like wheat, barley, which were easily grown along the River Nile. Another thing, there was presence of fertile soil, which were deposited along river valleys during floods, and this favored the growth of crops. You will find that there is also other thing that favor the early agriculture in Egypt, and it's the invention of writings. Hieroglyphics helped much in keeping farm records. Also, the introduction of irrigations by use of River Nile boosted agriculture. The basin and the Shadoof irrigation methods were also discovered. The invention of the calendar helped in marking seasons and when the river flooded. For them to prepare in advance enable to plant at the right time. As you can see from the diagram here we have just but one example of method of irrigation used in ancient Egypt, and this is the so-called Shadoof methods of irrigation. Another thing, you will find that the introduction of ox-drawn wooden plough enabled more land to be ploughed. Another thing, there was political stability in Egypt, which enabled agricultural activities to be conducted, and also other activities such as trade, because of Arabian Desert, the Nubian Desert, and the Mediterranean Sea protected Egypt from foreign invasion. So these people were able to carry out their activities well. You will find that early agriculture had a number of impacts on Egypt, such as it led to the increase of food production, increase of trade with other countries. It also led to the division of labor, and finally there was specialization, whereby people settled down and carried out different activities according to their gender, according to their social status, and also their social classes. Then another thing, you will find that agriculture contributed to the emergence of small skills such as weaving, basketry, and pottery. It also led to the improved methods of cultivation like irrigation and use of plough. Another thing, it led to urbanization. It resulted to the emergence of class of wealth people in Egypt. And finally, more land was put under cultivation. Another thing, you will find that early agriculture began along the river valleys of Egypt and Mesopotamia due to a number of things, like there was availability of water, which used for irrigation, also presence of fertile soil, which was deposited in river banks where farmers planted their crops. Also, rivers provided means of transport, whereby people had established settlements along the river. Then another thing, you will realize that apart from fertile soil and presence of water, there was presence of indigenous crops, as we have seen it in Egypt. Also, it happened in Mesopotamia. They had indigenous crops like barley, wheat, cassava, millet, and others, which were discovered by early man during the domestication of animal and cultivation. Then another thing, you will realize that we have a number of things that favored agriculture in Mesopotamia. That's the invention of plough and also introduction of irrigation, just the way we have seen it in Egypt. Also, there was presence of fertile soil and also invention of writing, which enabled farmers to keep records of their farm produce, and also they needed to know the right time and when to apply manure, also at the right time when their produce was ready for the harvest. Then another thing, you will realize that the agriculture led to specialization, it led to division of labor, it led to better farming tools, and also increase in food production. Then another thing, you'll find there was a class of wealthy people emerged. Euphrates and Tigris, also rivers provided water, improved methods of cultivation, increase of trade, population increase, which resulted to high demand for food. Then another thing, you will find that the crops which were domesticated were wheat, barley, figs, and olives. Also, the cultivation of barley and wheat spread Egypt and later to other parts of the world. Apart from the indigenous crops, you will realize that the invention of the seed drill made the planting of seed to be easier compared to the broadcasting method they used. And this being the end of our lesson, we have our class activities, whereby you are supposed to mention the first crops to be domesticated and also what were the factors that favored the development of agriculture in Mesopotamia. For more information, you can go to the Evolving World, page 39 to 43, and the Milestone in History and the Government, page 26 to 30. For more information, get us through the number that is appearing on your screen. Also find us in YouTube as Elim TV, in Facebook as Elim TV, and finally in Twitter at Elim_KE.